When it comes to women, I love them. Would I want to be one? Not really. I mean, you never know. My writers might change their mind. They could make me a woman if they ran out of ideas and wanted to cash in on a very easy trend. I say trend like it's new, but it's not, it's really old. Old to me because I'm a young little boy. Like Dexter's Lab was way before my time. And did they have a gender swap episode? Yeah, kinda. But they did it a bit differently. They only gender swapped one character, whereas different shows do many different things, which I gotta go through briefly. So you've got the gender swap trope, otherwise known as gender bending. Gender swap is whenever a character gets their gender, well, swapped. So like a boy character turning into a girl character in the most literal way possible. So no, the episode of Gumball where Gumball puts on a dress doesn't count. Same thing where Bugs Bunny puts on a dress as well. That's not gender swapping, that's cross-dressing. Body swapping is also different. That's where someone's mind gets transported into another person's body. It just so happens to be that usually the boy character swaps bodies with the girl character, which is different because the consciousness is the exact same. It's just the body is completely different. Gender swapping is taking the biological sex of the character and flipping it on its head, like I've said before. It's basically the same character, just a woman or a man, and they kind of usually play in the stereotypes associated with the gender. As in, Finn the human is a little tiny rectangle of a man, and then Fiona is a really curvy woman. Now, whether or not that is because it's gender swapped or a fan fiction by an old man, listen, we don't want to talk about that here today, alright? But anyway, you usually get a man being turned into a woman because you can get the generic, I've got boobs scene. The example I typically use is the Johnny Bravo episode Witchy Woman, where Johnny Bravo gets turned into a woman for his crimes against, well, women. And Johnny only gets unwomaned whenever he learnt the lesson to not be a misogynist. Now, whether or not he actually learnt anything, listen, that's not the main point of the video. Ignore it. There's other examples of gender swapping, like the Adventure Time episode, Johnny Test episode, the Fairly Odd Parents episode, so on and so forth. And while I mentioned that there's a difference between the gender swap in Adventure Time and the gender swap in The Amazing World of Gumball, they're Western cartoons. They're rarely gonna have the exact same concept, but the shows on screen right now all have gender swap episodes, which I think are worth looking at. And with anything, we gotta rank them. Alright, Will, what's the first episode? Oh, you know what I hate? Johnny Test. With whip cracking reminiscent of something from Castlevania and Adobe Animation. That is worse than a lot of YouTube projects. This show is everything but good. I mean, the first season's a bit different, but that's a matter for a different day. Johnny Test had a gender swap episode? What? Yeah! Season 5 episode 14B, Johnny Alternative, has Johnny and Dookie go to an alternate universe because they're dumb stupid. It was a complete accident in their end. Whenever they foolishly entered a portal Mary and Susan created, they entered even after being warned. No wonder why these characters are hated. Hated being a strong word, however, the portal was closed, thus meaning that Johnny and Dookie are stuck in a wacky, alternative universe. What a travesty. The travesty being unveiled whenever Johnny and Dookie meet General Dude. Hey, but it's not a dude. That's part of the bit. She subverts the audience's expectations. Look, she's even got makeup on and lipstick. Wow. Okay, that alone could just be an anomaly. However, where it gets cemented that something is genuinely different is whenever Dookie notices that the sign for pork belly isn't pork belly anymore, but lead belly. I did a bit of research on why lead belly and not like beef belly, which would have made a lot more sense, and the only thing I found was that some metals are referred to as pig, which doesn't help at all. I want to state though, that I haven't watched Johnny Test in years, and I've seen a lot of those videos on YouTube ranting about how bad it is, and I've just thought, surely it can't be that bad, right? No, it's that bad. I watched one episode for the video and oh my god, it's evident how far the show's fallen since its quote-unquote glory days, which, glory being a strong word, but this episode gives me secondhand embarrassment because you kinda know how the plot's gonna unfold, with the portal suddenly disappearing. Plus, Johnny developing a weird crush on his female counterpart is really weird to watch, because if I'm remembering correctly, Johnny Test has never had a love interest. His entire character is the aloof, stupid boy type. It's weird for his characterization to be thrown out the window, for him to fall in love with himself or herself. Dookie and his girl counterpart, Dutchie, also fall in love with each other almost instantly, which I don't care about at all. And to be quite frank, I don't care about this episode at all, and nor should I, because I'm a 17-year-old man analysing children's media. But to be fair, usually adults watch these shows as well, with their younger cousin or something, so I don't see why this show is so polarising to me. In this episode, Johnny will also like randomly show his love for, what's her name? Johnny West? Damn, who's your dad? Every character swaps their gender and their redesigns have little effort put into them. And I can guarantee you, a few of them are just the regular voice actors putting on a girl's voice. Like I'm doing right now. Yup, that's me.
Sponges, anyone? Oh, and your dog and my cat army.
So we have our villain of the week. We get the stereotypical lovebirds comment. Both Johnny and Joni are like, ew, we don't like each other. And then everyone watching the episode is like, just stop talking. Joni gets captured. Dutchie turns into a cat. Johnny gets turned into a cat as well. And, this gender swap does a few more things than just a simple gender swap. It's a menagerie, really. The episode ends off on Johnny, Joni, Dookie and Dutchie going in for a kiss, and next thing you know, the portal conveniently comes back and sucks everyone away. And yes, I didn't enjoy it that much. It's a typical Johnny Test episode with a bit more of a unique story. Outside of that though, it's just dull compared to the other options I have. And for that, I'll give it a D tier. Next we have... Jeez, a lot of Adventure Time here today, huh? Next we have the Adventure Time episode, The Prince Who Wanted Everything, an episode a part of a surprisingly large group of Fiona and Cake episodes, which are half of the list by the way. But hey, the worst of the bunch. This episode starts off with Lumpy Space Princess wanting the Ice King to read a story about Lumpy Space Prince. I have to explain this entire plot point. So, with these gender swap episodes, each of them have a really specific reason for changing the world. Like Johnny Test has a portal, and here we have an alternate universe told through Ice King. A universe where Ice King sexualizes a 13-year-old. Lumpy Space Princess wrote a fanfiction where her character is a smoldering, attractive specimen. And this episode made me realize one thing. Lumpy Space Princess has such a strange design. I never really took notice of the design when I was younger, but I have now, and I'm bewildered by how abstract it is. But hey, at least the voice acting's good. Initially, Lumpy Space Prince in the episode was voiced by the original voice actor, Pendleton Ward. Wait, what?
By the window. Want to know what you think of this?
But then there was an adjustment made and then boom, we get Peter Serafinowicz.
No! I've told you hundreds of times that I don't want to be a monster!
Which is a really grandiose voice actor for such an average design. Adventure Time has a lot of irony, which is an aspect of the show I like a lot. They'd give really silly events a giant scale, which just makes everything funny. LSP having a buttery voice actor for a design, which is just the original, with a pube stash. Listen, it's good, okay? This episode is about LSP abstaining from following his parents. They want him to be a monster, but LSP wanted to be dating someone equal to himself instead. I inferred that he was talking about our LSP, but I could be wrong. But if I'm not wrong, that's another Johnny Test syndrome, and I don't like it. It makes me uncomfortable. And then a giant portal opens up and his parents come back to force him to be a monster or whatever. Then LSP says, I don't care, several times, and then the episode ends. Yeah, I don't really care about it that much. I enjoyed it more than I did the Johnny Test episode, and that was because they didn't have a whip crack every 5 seconds. Additionally, I also like how all of these episodes are just fan fiction by Ice King, hence why everything has such a goofy undertone. Where do I rank it? D, but this time I'll give it a high D. Alright, we'll spit it up. Oh, not again. Adventure Time has yet more gender swap episodes. There are quite a lot to be fair, the rest of which I'll try to go through relatively quick. Doing research for this video, I was very confused by the title of the episode, as it didn't really make sense till the end of the episode. Even then, it still made no sense. It's random, and by proxy, that makes it funny, if you're 5. The episode is called 5 Short Tables, and you're probably as confused as I was. Basically, this episode is like if you got a bunch of YouTube shorts and mashed them all together, and it's cohesive here because of a shoehorn story. You see, Ice King comes to his fanfiction lair to say that his fanfiction has been torn to shreds by Gunter, because Gunter had some critiques. Ice King is pissed and then freezes Gunter, and then after Gunter is frozen, Ice King sets out his new escapade to craft a new story around these several non-coherent pages. 5 Short Tables translated to English is 5 Short Parables. I'm a genius, I know. It's explained in the episode, but the reason why it's called 5 Short Tables and not 5 Short Parables is because each episode ties back to tables in some way. The first parable is Fiona and Cake making a flapjack on a table, and then they go to the Candy Kingdom and Prince Gumball's fiddling with the candy periodic table. They then go to a library to make flapjacks on other people, and then Flame Prince nearly lights up the place in flames, but he ends up burning a table. And then in the forest, LSP's running away from Marshall Lee, who's trying to feed him a potion on a tablespoon. and then LSP hides pretending to be someone else, and then Marshall Lee fakes a fight to get sympathy, and then whenever LSP comes out, Marshall Lee forces him to drink the potion, and then next thing you know it's the wrong potion. And then to tie it all together, Cake is making a flapjack of LSP post-potion, tying back to the table idea. And then after that, Ice Queen is talking about her own gender swap of Fiona and Cake, Flynn the human and Jax the raccoon. And then after that, Fiona and Cake offer to make Ice Queen a flapjack. Listen, the episode practically ends there, as Ice King can't figure out how Ice Queen ties back to tables. This episode, not very good, even compared to other Adventure Time episodes. Sure, it's different. It's a Fiona and Cake parable, but like, it's not really one cohesive journey, and I know it's not meant to be. But compared to the earlier Fiona and Cake episodes, this one is just lackluster. And even then, the gimmick is pretty weak too. Lucy for me, although you're free to have your opinion. Alright, Wheel, spend any time. Fairly Odd Parents, wow, epic. My favourite show ever made behind Family Guy, with a really charismatic showrunner that has never done anything wrong. What a gift. Speaking of gift, we have the episode, The Boy Who Would Be Queen. A pretty early episode in comparison to Johnny Test, so maybe things will be better. I got a feeling that every episode from here upwards will be better than the ones that came before, but we'll see. This episode hinges around gender stereotypes and how Timmy is a little nerdy kid who can't talk to girls and is a weird guy who watches, quote, the kissy kissy goo goo romance hour. You see, Timmy subverts the gender stereotype of a boy, as Timmy is more than a one-dimensional Vietnamese war-loving mongrel. And then we've got Trixie, the love interest, who's talking in girl language about normal girl things to your normal girl friend. And then they mention a party, which Timmy tries to get invited to. Timmy essentially bribes Trixie into getting an invitation. It actually works though. And Timmy goes to Cosmo and Wanda to get gift ideas, and then Timmy makes a demeaning remark about being a girl. And then next thing you know, Timmy's a girl. Timmy didn't want to be a girl, however, and out of spite, girl Timmy turns Cosmo and Wanda into Cosmo and Wanda, and then girl Timmy goes to the mall to get a gift for Trixie, gets distracted, and oh wow, Trixie subverts girl stereotypes as she likes nerdy stuff, like Skull Squisher. Considering how backwards Butch Hartman is, I'm surprised that this episode is all about breaking down stereotypes. I say that, and it is, but by the end of the episode it kinda takes a massive shit all over the message as Timmy, previously Tamantha, tells Trixie that he likes her for being her, and then Trixie felt pressured by those around her to perpetuate the gender stereotypes and kicks Timmy out of her party. But Timmy, with his newfound confidence, feels okay, doing typically girly things, which is a net positive. A big win. Is it a good episode? I think so. To have the episode's message shit on at Trixie's party is annoying to watch. It's not my favourite, like, but it's okay. I'll give it low B tier. Alright, what's next? Oh. When it comes to The Lighthouse, I never really watched it. I watched a few episodes back in 2016 when the show initially came out, and I was also pretty young at that time too, so that influenced me watching it. As at the time, the internet seemed to revolve entirely around series with overarching stories, and it never really left room for an episodic show to get popular. And that being said, The Lighthouse got mega popular. In fact, I believe it was even more popular than SpongeBob for a period of time. With any popular show though, comes your typical gender swap episode. Awesome, here's a mix-up. It was released in season 1, which is even earlier than Fairly Odd Parents, as other shows sometimes take seasons to do a gender swap episode, and this episode being deceptively early allows it to play with the show's premise before it even settled, taking Lincoln's 10 sisters and turning them into 10 brothers. I feel that a majority of the enjoyment would come from long-time fans that see the series flipped on its head. But the interesting part is Lincoln will now have 10 brothers and not 10 sisters, and considering the entire gimmick is Lincoln's a boy among 10 girls and women are part of the reason why Lincoln is an outcast. I mean, Lincoln is an outcast and he isn't one, but it makes sense in the episode. Here, Lincoln gets pissed off at his family for being women, and then Lisa gives Lincoln a funny watch which teleports him to an alternate world with brothers. The main gimmick being that he is 24 hours before he's stuck. Lincoln enters for the vine and bing bada boom, everything is flipped on its head and he's got brothers now. Every one of his brothers just being stereotypical in the way his sisters were. But hey, Lincoln doesn't stick out like a sore thumb anymore. Hence the name of the episode, One of the Boys. This episode was a blur to me thinking back, and I wonder why. Not much really happened. It felt like a slideshow of, oh wow, look how different we are, we're men and we like American football. We go to Gus Gaming Grub and look how cool we are. As time elapses in the new Lighthouse, Lincoln gradually gets more and more pissed off by how annoying boys are, and then Lincoln decides to go back home, and then his watch is thrown around, which just further cements Lincoln's frustration. And then Lincoln gets his watch and then leaves, and then oh no, Lincoln's a girl now, for a second. before going back to his actual house, and then the episode ends. My bad for basically doing a summary on the episode and not some in-depth analysis about how it perpetuates X, Y, and Z. Most of the time, gender swap episodes are just a little idea by a person on the writing board, and they write themselves practically, because they just flip the dynamics of a group. And that's what this episode was. Was it bad? No, I liked it. The message was cool and epic, and not a punch to the liver, and it also subtly teaches the audience to not take things for granted, as you have no idea how much worse it could be for you. I put this one in B tier. It's generic, but it doesn't need to be anything more, you know? Alright, what's next? Adventure Time again. Epic. I'm gonna say this right now because I don't want to create some fake illusion that this episode is better than it actually is. This episode is about on the same level as one of the boys, as in, it's really basic. Of course I'm talking about the first Fiona and Cake episode, titled Fiona and Cake. Wow, what a shocker. The episode starts off with Fiona and Cake getting ready for the biennial Gumball Ball. It's a dance we're meant to care about, but for the episode it's just what the plot hinges around. Prince Gumball invites Fiona to the ball as friends initially, and then they get interrupted by Ice Queen, who tries to do some shifty maneuver, fails, and then the room is covered in snowfall, in which Gumball and Fiona meet again and Gumball asks if they want to go out. They then meet at the castle gardens and then they go on a ride where Gumball is seemingly in love with Fiona, and then he starts singing about how him and Fiona are inseparable or something. Listen, it's cute, okay, and wholesome, and I liked it a lot. Fiona's bewildered by Gumball, all the while they're flying through the sky on the back of Lord Monochromicorn, the gender-swapped version of Lady Rainicorn, who's monochrome now, and a lord. I'm also a lord if you didn't know. They get let down and Gumball asks Fiona if she wants to go to the ball, as his girlfriend. A giant step up from the previous questions. This gradual advancement in the relationship comes to a head whenever the ball starts and this episode stops being something on Cartoon Network and a lot more like something on another network. A network that would not be for kids. Nah, but you see, it's a worry as Ice Queen has trapped Prince Gumball on ice. Her goal fails because it's Ice Queen. Come on, she's gotta be as incompetent, if not more incompetent than Ice King. Speaking of Ice King, the audience isn't aware that the story is conjured up by Ice King until the very end, where the real Gumball asks Fiona out on a date, and then Fiona denies him. This date is used to hinge the big bad reveal that Gumball isn't the Dreamy Man of the Week, but instead the Dreamy Man of the Week award goes to Ice King, as Fiona and Cake collectively gush over how epic and dreamy Ice King is. Heck, even Lord Monochromicorn gets in on the fun. And then it transitions to Ice King, who's reading out a story, in which we, the audience, find out that Ice King took his arch nemesis and turned him into an attractive woman, his enemy being a 13 to 14 year old boy at the time. Also, the funniest part of the episode has to be that Ice Queen was so romantic towards Fiona. The serenade that Gumball gave wasn't actually Gumball, I don't think. It was Ice Queen, which is weird, but in a good and funny way. It's something you'd only notice a second time watching. I know that because I only realised it on my second time watching. My verdict on the episode is that it's good. I think it's a good benchmark for what an ideal gender swap episode should and could be. Adventure Time made a few more gender swap episodes after this one, and rightfully so, because they put so much effort in the casting and the design of these gender bent characters. With Fairly Odd Parents, the characters were basically just pitched versions of the originals, which was really lame.
Oh, what do you think? This or this?
Just pick something. Well, you said I wish.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Editing Andrew here. Looking back, I don't even think they pitched the audio. They sound the exact same. Although thankfully, here, they put effort in the casting. Fiona feels like a female version of Finn, and Madeline Martin did an awesome job, and Neil Patrick Harris sells Gumball as a character really well. It's almost like this was what Adventure Time could have ended up being. It's that well thought out. And even if the other Adventure Time episodes that stem from this one aren't as good, like the LSP episode or 5 Short Tables, I like Fiona and Cake a lot because it's virtually just a Finn and Bubblegum episode, except gender swapped. However, this can fall down the trap of being unremarkable, which in my opinion is where the other episodes falter. But anyways, where do I rank it though? I give it B tier again, if not high B tier. It's as good as one of the boys, if not a bit better. I can't be that many left now, right? Epic. Whenever I was younger, I remember watching Cartoon Network late at night with a friend. Usually Courage the Cowardly Dog would come on, as well as Foster's and Cow and Chicken. Basically all the classic Cartoon Network shows. I had Cartoon Network racing on the DS. I was more familiar with the old Cartoon Network characters than I was the new ones, you know? And I liked Johnny Bravo a lot. I don't remember or know why. He's a very one-dimensional misogynistic character who gets away with everything he says and has a really annoying Elvis-inspired voice. But hey, young me must have saw something in him. so I've got to check it out. Doing research in gender swap episodes for the video, I came across a tidbit of knowledge that Johnny Bravo had a gender swap episode, which is really fitting because if it didn't, that'd be a massive missed opportunity, because the entire show revolves around gender, and Johnny's entire character being a womanizer. So what happens when you make Johnny a woman? This actually happens, and it happens in the season 4 episode Witchy Woman, where Johnny starts acting sexual towards a fortune teller, who curses Johnny to being a woman. What a fate. Nah, but Johnny got cursed to being a woman until he learned his lesson. His lesson being respecting women. After Johnny tries to flirt with himself, he comes to embrace his womanly body and changes his name to Jenny Brava. Jenny Brava is incredibly curvy, which some would say perpetuates sexism, and if you made Johnny Bravo into a woman, he would certainly not look like that. But hey, it's a cartoon. Jenny Brava wears his old mother's clothes and goes out and then gets spotted by a tailor who wants to make Jenny beautiful. Bing bada boom, Jenny gets to fit and looks divine. Mwah. Jenny gradually sees how disgusting men treat women and begins to campaign feminism and gets supported by other girls, and together they perform a song called Girls Are Smart, a song that is about seeing women as more than mere meat. And to be fair, it's a cool message to push to kids. Whenever Johnny learns his lesson, he gets turned back into a man, which pisses every woman off, and then Johnny leaves after making a remark. Johnny by the end of the episode has walked a day in women's shoes, and hopefully, from now on, he is no longer sexist. Did he actually change? Nah, straight after he turns back into a man, he starts flirting again and he learned nothing. Then Johnny leaves and the episode's over as Johnny wakes up in his woman attire. I like the episode a lot though. I'll give it a low A tier. Huh, one last spin. What are we gonna get this time? I wonder. Last but not least, we've got one of my favourite Adventure Time episodes and one of the most iconic, as it's got Marcia Lee, who made a cameo in Fiona and Cake. The episode takes the world established in Fiona and Cake and runs with it. Runs with it as in, let's Ice King tell a story for a bit, and then it gets derailed as everyone finds it boring, and then Marceline intervenes to tell her own story. Her own story being really cute and cool. I like Family Guy. My opinion is subjective. What isn't subjective is the music in Adventure Time goes hard, and Bad Little Boy is no exception, as there's a song called Good Little Girl, where Marcia Lee, voiced by Donald Glover, sings to Fiona. The song is epic and Donald Glover, voicing Marcia Lee, makes it way better. It just shows the amount of effort they put in to these little one-off episodes. Plus, not to mention Marcia Lee gets my blood flowing, if you know what I mean. That's not funny. For real though, why did they make Marcia Lee so attractive? This episode, all things considered, seems incredibly short, mostly because of there being a 2-minute sequence of Ice King story in the beginning. I mentioned it a bit earlier on, but I really like how they structure things like a regular Adventure Time episode, especially here. Like, it's a tale you could see Marceline and Finn do, but the fact it's Fiona and Marcia Lee doing it, without it being an obvious low-quality gender swap, makes everything so much better and so much more immersive. Whenever watching Fairly Odd Parents, for example, you can tell that it's just Timmy, Cosmo and Wanda. They're gender swapped, they're apparently the opposite gender. Being cynical, Timmy really didn't even need the gender swap for the message to make sense, as the message of the episode had nothing to do with Tamantha. With Adventure Time, they practically build a new character from scratch and plop him in a slightly different rendezvous. I'll give Bad Little Boy an A+. The Adventure Time gender swap episodes could have easily been a spin-off series. The only problem being it probably would have lost its charm after airing a few episodes, which, listen, we live in an idealist world. The gender swap episodes we did get felt lackluster because there weren't enough to fully flesh out the world, therefore it kind of left the entire thing feeling flat. If we did get an actual spin-off to it akin to Islands and Stakes, in contrast to the other episodes being sparsely decorated across the series, I think if you had a concentrated gender swap side series, it would have been a lot more cohesive and better overall than what we actually ended up getting. I titled the video ranking every gender swap episode, and I believe I've ranked the major ones, and the ones I mentioned previously like Dexter's Lab aren't significant enough of a change for me to warrant reviewing it. For every episode I looked at, they took the world and flipped it on its head in some big way. Huh, I left one out.
Bomb!
That's not a gender swap episode, get that out of here. Thank you for watching till the very end. I'm doing a bit of work in the channel to make it look nicer. The outros are very rough right now, but it'll look better in the future, alright? Okay. I've got a Patreon too, which I won't advertise till later on, but don't go to the Patreon right now because I'm still setting it up. Yeah, but have a great June if I don't make another video, which I should. I'll see you then anyway. Bye.